Welcome to the Deep Impact Investing Podcast with Kimberly Griego-Kyle on behalf of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. In this podcast, I discuss sustainable impact investing, how to create portfolios that match your values, and a variety of other topics such as financial education, environmental sustainability, social justice, and sustainable food systems. Do you want to know if your investments seek the kind of accountability from corporations that you demand? Listen in as I explore the burning question, are you investing like you give a damn?
Hello and welcome to Deep Impact Investing with Kimberly Griego-Kyle from Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. Kim, what's going on?
Oh gosh, it's almost my birthday.
Okay, so yeah, I'm
Next
not going to
week.
ask you the age next week.
No,
Okay,
I don't have a problem saying my age. I really don't. I mean, it's a big number, but I am 55. 55 and alive, right?
there you go. Yeah. I just turned 49 last week, so we're very.
How many times have you turned 49?
This is the first time, Kim. Thanks very much.
Just
Wow.
checking.
Okay. Apparently, it's time for me to leave the conversation, and it's a good time for me to leave the conversation because you have a guest on the show. And
I do.
Bye.
I am so excited again to have one of my favorite people on the podcast today, Pooja Khosla of Entelligent. And yes, she's welcome back, Pooja. I'm so happy to have you. She's she works for Entelligent, and I think your position changed, so I don't remember what it was.
So I got a very exciting position now, Kim. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer.
Ooh, I like that. Chief Innovation Officer. Yeah. And my favorite mathematician and scientist and all of those amazing things. What I love about you is the background research that you do. Every time you write an article or talk with me, you are such an amazing researcher. And today I want to talk, well, so many things I want to talk to you about, but let's start talking about the article that you recently published in Green Entrepreneur. Is that what that's what it's entrepreneur, but they have a green section. Should just all be green, but yeah. So welcome.
It's my pleasure. I look forward to spend time with you and the audience here because I am on one of the fan list of your podcast.
My biggest fan, maybe. I don't know. Yes. So thank you so much. And thanks. I just want to thank the listeners for joining us every time. It's fun to do this, and it's fun to talk about new topics. So let's talk about your article, and it's called Want to Be More Sustainable? 4 Ways to Take Advantage of the Inflation Reduction Act, right? And I like the subtitle, How Going Green Can Put You in the Black. It's excellent. So let's talk about that. I want to start with the Inflation Reduction Act. Let's just get a basic definition of what we're talking about.
So, Kim, we are living in a world where green is in demand.
Yay.
And I will go back to my principle of economics course. Demand and supply.
Excellent. Basic economics. We like it. Yeah.
So in basic economics, if demand goes up, supply takes time to catch up.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
That time when supply is catching up to demand, we all face market disruptions because the price of those commodities, when demand goes up, also goes up.
Right. The more we want something, the more expensive it is. Makes sense. Yeah.
And we all know that when price goes up, the masses are hurt more. Their incomes, their ability to buy commodities, including green commodities, is hurt more.
Exactly. I just want to mention too, for and if there are listeners who don't understand basic economics, I think most of you or all of you do, but if you just apply this to the grocery store right now and you see the increase in costs, I think that has a lot to do with the pandemic and trying to catch up, whether you're shopping for food or non-food items. So this is kind of a thing across the board. However, you talk in your article about greenflation, which is what you're just describing, correct?
That is correct. I was going towards green inflation. Now, because green is demanded, it means that more electric vehicles are demanded, more solar panels are demanded, and more windmills are demanded, more energy efficiency appliances are demanded. And the real change in planet will come if masses, everyone will have ability to afford that. But because of the increased demand of green things, the metals and commodities that are used to produce green things like batteries, wind, solar panels, their prices are going up. Prices of nickel is growing up. As the price of copper is going up. Now, this will make green more expensive. So this Inflation Reduction Act is beautiful so that government can discount the green by giving credits for the people to adopt green. Because if we all can make small changes in our houses, in our way of life, how we travel, in our businesses, the small change from a microeconomic level will aggregate to a good reduction in emission for our planet.
Yes, I totally jumped on that bandwagon, and I needed a new car because we sold my car before we moved, and so I decided it would be electric or hybrid or something. And I looked around, and there are waiting lists for everything. It was amazing. So I put my name on a waiting list. I have a plug-in electric hybrid, and I love it. And then I was thrilled to find out with the Inflation Reduction Act, I'm going to get a big tax credit. Whoop, whoop.
And I already got, because I put myself in the wait list, expecting that Inflation Reduction Act will be coming, because it was a strong guesswork, but it happened. And I got a big tax break this year for my investment. And now looking at the tax break at solar panels, I cannot afford the solar panel, but with the tax break, my affordability comes into play. And this Inflation Reduction Act, because of incentives, and second principle of economics, people respond to incentives.
Yes.
Making people like me, you, and everybody to see whether we want to change our refrigerator now, whether we want to change our washer or dryer now, whether we want to put up a solar panel right now or buy a new EV. So this is a big motivation, and this, with the multiple numbers, I think it will change the way of life. Small step in a big purpose of making our planet green.
Yeah, it is a small step, but I always say to folks, it's one step at a time, and you do what you can. So if you need a new car and you can afford one, Eric and I have had this conversation. Some people can't afford the price of these new EVs. It's pretty steep. And we are past the days of zero interest financing. So, you want to try to pay cash for something like that rather than pay the high interest rates, which is such a big problem at the moment. But yes, so people are jumping on the bandwagon and wanting to jump on the bandwagon to increase their efficiency and reduce their reliance on carbon fuels. So this is great. I love it.
Kim, I would say it is good for my pockets too,
Mm.
because I don't spend $75, $80 to full tank of my old car.
Right.
And if I see the addition on my electric bill, it is very insignificant.
Yeah, I didn't notice any difference on my electric bill. So yeah, you're right. It's great.
So I want to tell people that I understand affordability is a challenge, but in the long run, I used to spend, I believe, I invented a word, moober, mom
Yeah.
Uber.
Mom Uber, Moober. We're gonna hashtag that.
Yeah. Driving. I used to spend at least $300-$400 for gas, which I am not doing right now, driving my kids to soccer, to piano, and to very many activities we aspire for them.
Right. It's a lot of driving when you have kids your age. So it's amazing to, especially because here in Oregon, prices of gas have not gone down. They actually went up a little bit, and I had understood that gas prices were coming down, but not here. So I think there's a lot of taxes in Oregon on fossil fuels, which is great. I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, back to your article, which had so many different interesting pieces I pulled out. But let's talk about the provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act. And I was thinking when I wrote that down, it's another IRA we have to remember. So, Inflation Reduction Act. And let's talk about the provisions to help small businesses.
Great. So, Kim, when I was thinking about Inflation Reduction Act, I live in a neighborhood and community where a lot of people have small businesses. And I was discussing, being an economist, which I love to do, that, you will be filing your small business tax soon, before the tax day. This discussion was before the tax day, which was this week. Are you thinking about taking advantage of this offer that government have created for you? So I call myself a green influencer wherever
You are a green influencer. Absolutely.
Find an opportunity to influence people to make green choices, I insert myself. So most of the time I noticed that the small business do not have awareness as big corporations, because they don't have that many economic experts or that many consulting experts that could help them to take advantage of the changing systems.
Yes. Small businesses, we do a lot more, work, honestly, on everything. And so trying to pay attention to some of these things that come out is much more difficult for the small business. So I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that maybe I should look into how I can bring this awareness. So I got an opportunity with the Green Entrepreneur section where I can bring small businesses up to the speed very quickly on the links and on the opportunities that they have.
So, yeah, go ahead. I was going to ask another question, but go ahead. Finish your thought.
And to make them realize that moving forward, sustainability risk is the business risk. And I wanted to pass my message to the small businesses. I know a lot of S&P 500 companies, publicly traded companies, are already thinking about sustainability risk. But if you will look at the statistics, more than 50% of our gross domestic product in North America comes from small businesses.
More than 50%. amazing. That's an amazing number.
So I thought that if we are talking about macroeconomic planetary changes, we have to steer small businesses towards sustainability. But now I will let you ask the question that you are holding.
Well, I also had another thought. I'm like, that's a mouthful. Macroeconomic, what'd you say? Macroeconomic
Planetary changes.
planetary changes. I was like, wow, you're right. So we're talking about this changes small businesses can make that will literally affect the entire global system. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So when I was reading some of the notes and looking up things, it was talking about for small businesses things that they can do at retrofitting buildings, changing their commercial vehicles to electric. And there were, again, subsidies, or not just subsidies, but, rebates for the small businesses as well. What else?
That is correct, because I go into small businesses and to be very honest, Kim, I come from a business family. So they make do with things till they break.
Right? We don't do that so much here in the US.
Yes. But I think with the Inflation Reduction Act, they have an option this year and hopefully coming year. This year for sure, because the act is in place, that if they are in a position where they want to change the heating system, the cooling system, which is a big cost, or maybe reduce their electric cost by having a solar panel installed in their building, they will get a huge rebate from the government. So this year, there is an opportunity where instead of waiting for a break for an old installation or an old refrigerator in your office, change it and show that to the government and get a break. And this will help their net profits.
Yeah. So it can be as small as getting a more efficient refrigerator in your office. I'm going to start telling everybody this. I mean, as small businesses, we want to keep as much, in the business as we can. So we're reinvesting it. And, small business owners also want to receive a paycheck. So any way we can keep money in their pockets is a good thing. What else on this Inflation Reduction Act did we not mention that's important to green?
Thing for me is that, look, small businesses have 5 things that they can look globally right now into their system. First is their supply chains. So if they are working with suppliers and if they can spend some R&D time to find suppliers which are more local or green than what they were previously using, that R&D time is also discounted and is on rebate by the governments. If you are doing any research to go green, and if you can account for that expenditure, then also you have a point of privilege.
Wow. Okay. This is so fascinating. And I think there are a lot of provisions here that most people are not going to be aware of at all. Not everybody's going to read all the details on the Inflation Reduction Act, but that was something I didn't pick up. So if I spend 45 minutes or an hour researching my new refrigerator, that time can be blocked out for a rebate.
Exactly. And second, there are a lot of operations that a small business account for. And to be very honest, when I talk to entrepreneurs, I am in a circle of women entrepreneurs. So I love talking to them and I ask them, what are the operations? And I think most of the time their operations are in their head.
Right.
because they're so busy doing things and not thinking on what they do. And sometimes I see myself in the same boat. So if they can lay out their operations, pause, think, and if they can do some research on any operation changes, small changes in operation, maybe, I do take my car from point X to point Y to get my raw material, but now I am taking an electric car to doing that. So that change, a thinking time where you are making your operations more efficient and green can also be attached to a discounting system.
Nice.
So I really want, there are so many small things and tax breaks which can combine together as a cost of R&D time in operations in supply chain.
Pooja, this just popped into my head. I'm wondering if there's a way, and it doesn't have to be an exhaustive list, but is there a way to maybe list 5 or 10 ideas or things that small business owners can do to take advantage of these credits? Like, the refrigerator. Okay, that's one. Buying an electric van for transport. And then there's the time, the research time on all of that. So I know there's a lot of other things we can look at. Is there a way to make a list like that for me?
Absolutely, Ken.
Okay.
I will a list for you. So, and maybe, we can put that list as a description under the podcast.
Absolutely.
A green cheat sheet for small business.
A green cheat sheet. I like it. We're going to attach that. Absolutely. I'm excited about that. I want to talk also about how reducing supply chain or changing your supply chain will reduce business risk. It's a risk adjustment process, but how does that make any difference for the small business owner or the large business owner?
I'll give you an example which I saw in reality because, though I am very philosophical, but being an economist, I really want to quote practical examples which people can relate to. So one practical example I saw, and I believe some of the people listening this podcast may have experienced this. So when we were all sheltered in our home during COVID, we spent more time in home, and a lot of people, including me, did home improving projects.
Right.
And when you talk about home improving projects, I think the most popular one is kitchen.
That's the most expensive one too.
Yes.
Yeah. But you can change a lot of things in your kitchen to reduce your reliance on fossil fuels.
Exactly. Your stove, your microwave, and
your refrigerator, dishwasher. Yeah.
Dishwashers. And during COVID, there was a supply chain shortage, not only for refrigerators, not only for microwaves, oven, but also for kitchen cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
And I know a lot of people have to wait months to get them. This was because of supply chain disruptions.
Yes, which has been a huge issue for the last 3 years.
Yes. So, because we rely a lot on appliances and cabinets that are imported, and they were imported from the countries that were impacted by COVID the most, and there was a keen shortage, and because of that shortage, even the businesses, they had demand, they could not provide their products on time, had to go through a lot of stress and losses.
Absolutely. I think that it's stressful too for the folks who are waiting for items, and I just can't imagine the pressure on. Again, most of these companies are international. I know. I just realized I kind of cut you off on the 5 things you were sharing. Do you want to pop back to that real quick?
Yes, I can. So I think I've already shared the two, the supply chain and the
Yes.
operation risk one. And the third one is the legal and regulatory fines.
Mm.
So we are looking into a lot of government rules that are coming. And in fact, right now, SEC is discussing about the disclosure and formats, but I think they are still in the process to question the big banks and the big companies. And there were a lot of names last year. There was a legal risk and a lot of tensions, especially for small businesses in finance.
Oh, yes. I know this firsthand.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I talked to friends like you who had a first-hand experience. And this is going to expand eventually. So if we are able to prepare small business beforehand, taking advantage of the discounts we have, so they don't want to rush and do changes. When the legal and regulatory fines, the pressure of those fines become stronger and stronger in future, because I know that being a professor of most of my life, that there are some students who always prepare around the semester and some students who prepare a night before the exam.
Yeah.
But I always see the people who prepare around the semester have better chances to score well. And I really want those businesses to have better chances to score well, taking advantage of what benefits they have right now, because in rush, in hurry, we screw up things. So saving them from that screw up will be very, very important.
You're right. That's very true. And I was just thinking, so at the beginning of 2023, we had our first SEC exam, the initial exam after we went, filing with the SEC instead of the state. And it was a exploratory, helpful type exam, not a big deal. They did ask us a few questions about our sustainability processes and that kind of thing. And then not even 4 months later, we get another request from the SEC to discuss literally only sustainability processes in our business. And I feel like we were very well prepared to the point that there was an education crossing back to the three folks who were doing this audit. And I think that's very helpful for them, because they're trying to look at this big picture and understand it. And but yeah, we prepared around the semester, and I think we were ready. But you can't just sit back on your laurels. Whether it's a finance issue or supply chain issues, if that's going to get regulated in some way. Yeah, absolutely important.
And the fourth one, which is my favorite, is the reputational damage. Consumers are thinking a lot before they make consumption choices. And I think especially this young generation is so conscious. My kids are in elementary school. Sometimes I'm lazy that I will just throw my recycle thing in trash, and they were like, "Mom, wrong." They will pick it up and put it in recycle. And yes, I influence green, but we are humans. We do
absolutely
mistakes, right? So
yeah.
And reputational risk will go very, very high. I am a miser. I don't spend much. I always try to save money wherever I can. I come from a humble family. I love saving money. And this year, for the first time, knowing that what all Patagonia is doing for green, I got myself my first Patagonia jacket for reputational positive points on climate. So I think moving forward, consumers are going to get more and more conscious. And if you can show your business is green, that will be a huge reputation advantage. and consumers will be attracted for you because they will think working with you or using your products and services, we have not only made a difference to our lives, but to our planet as well.
So I just have to comment. I also got my first Patagonia pullover, and I guess maybe I could say I'm a bit of a miser too, because I frequent the resale shops, and that's where I found it. I was beyond excited because that's not something you find very often, even in, especially in these, smaller
Kim, then I would
reseller.
agree. We are on the same boat. Mine was
Yeah.
also from my favorite sports resale store.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So maybe we have to go resale shopping. It's a thing for me, and I maybe I'm a little bit addicted to it, but I like to just peruse through them when I have a few minutes and see what's new. And earlier this week, I found a rocker, one of those glider rockers, really nice ones, for $10. I've been wanting one, and I was like, there we go, $10. I love it. Okay, number 5.
Okay, the last one is very important. So small businesses are always looking for investors. Believe me, my life, where I sit in my company as a Chief Innovation Officer, is one, to think about the next coolest innovation, and second, to think about how I can finance that next coolest innovations. So investors are getting a lot of conscious about how their investments as a participants of capital markets can drive the car towards net zero or climate goals, which are aligned with Paris targets. And if you have a small business and if you are taking care of green, you will attract more and more investors, which will be to your advantage.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I have seen a big influx of different types of clients into the business, and I think that's part of what you're saying. I have so many more questions for you, and we're about to run out of time. So can you do a second podcast with me? Because I want to ask you about the talk you just did and another document that you sent me, which I'll just leave as a mystery. Can we do that?
Absolutely, Kim. You know what? This morning, 1 hour is my favorite, because I always say to the people, you can take the professor out of the school, but not school out of the professor.
Yes. All right. So we're going to
a chance to, educate this broader community, which is a privilege to me.
Absolutely. You are a complete teacher in so many different ways. Let me ask one quick question related to that article. At the very end, you were talking about the Clean Energy and Sustainability Accelerator. And can you just tell us what that is?
How about we keep it as a mystery for us?
Great. Maybe we'll start with that, or we'll just pick it up later. But yeah, Eric, are you still there? We're going to wrap this one up.
Yeah, Eric's still here, and we're not going to ask Eric if he was the semester prepper or the last minute prepper. We'll just say that Eric just bought his first set of bamboo sheets, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, nice.
Right? I think that's better than
very
cotton.
soft.
Yeah, so far.
I don't know about the class, but Eric, for the green, I know he's a full semester prepper.
The only reason I am is because I hang out with Kim so much. Quite honestly, she's teaching me so much. So this is what I love. This has been fantastic. Both of you are amazing women. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. Thank you for coming back and doing a second one. I'm looking forward to that. Kim, do we have any closing thoughts for today? Should people be reaching out to Johan maybe, or having these conversations?
Absolutely, especially if you're talking about your investments and how you want to make sure that they are more aligned with your green values. So you can reach Johan at the office at 505-982-9661 or by email at info@horizonssfs.com. Thank you so much, Pooja. We're going to talk again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both again. And of course, our last thank you always goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Deep Impact Investing Podcast with Kimberly Griego-Kyle. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Kim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, as this actually does help others find the show. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Deep Impact Investing with Kimberly Griego-Kyle, the sustainable, responsible impact investing podcast, reminding you that it's time to invest like you give a damn. If you have questions about this podcast or topics you'd like to hear addressed on an upcoming podcast, please email me at kim@griego-kyle.com. That's GRIEGO-KIEL.com. Or give Horizons a call at 505-982-9661 and be sure to ask for Johan Clausen. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available, and to share this podcast with colleagues, friends, and family. The companies I may speak about during the podcast are not recommendations for investment. Only you and your financial advisor can determine what the right investments are for you. Kimberly Griego-Kyle produces this podcast on behalf of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. is a registered investment advisor registered with the SEC. Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. and its financial professionals do not render tax or legal advice. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the host and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. None of this content may be used or duplicated without the express written agreement of the podcast host.